California Headline News calls for an investigation from congressional Democrats after the Office of the Director on National Intelligence blocks a whistleblower report against President Trump from reaching Congress.
The Department of Justice has been involved in the decision to withhold that information from Congress.
California Democrat Adam Schiff, who chairs the House Intelligence Committee, reports saying the whistleblower from an intelligence agency raised concerns with the Inspector General over promises made by President Trump in a conversation with a foreign leader. 1 person dead, 7 injured in the crash of a tour bus carrying the road crew for country singer Josh Turner. The accident occurring near San Luis Obispo, the driver veering the bus off the road, then off a cliff.
It fell off that 80-foot embankment and landed nose first into the dry river bottom, and the trailer folded over the back side and came to rest on the back section of the tour bus.
Cal Fire's Aiden Orozco. Turner wasn't on the bus at the time. The band performed Wednesday night in Paso Robles. Jeff Scott, California News.
Get out and ride. Brought to you by Can-Am. Moab, Utah is known throughout the country for its vast and diverse canyons and red rock trails. It's the perfect destination for your Can-Am off-road vehicle. With hundreds of miles of ORV trails and public lands and difficulty levels from novice to experienced, everyone in your group will enjoy the obstacles to navigate the breathtaking views. Stop by your local Can-Am off-road dealer during the Yellow Tag Sales event and find a great deal or rebate on select Can-Am off-road vehicles today.
It's happening. Wherever cupcakes are being frosted, songs are being recorded, and engines are being tuned, ADP is designing a better way to work. With industry-leading HR, talent, time, benefits, and payroll, more companies rely on ADP than any other HR partner, from small business to global enterprise. See how ADP can help you and your people achieve what you're working for at design.adp.com. ADP, always designing for people.
NBC News Radio, I'm Tom Roberts. President Trump is tweeting that a whistleblower complaint against him is another case of fake news and presidential harassment. Meanwhile, members of the House Intelligence Committee are holding a classified briefing today with the Intel Community's Inspector General about that complaint. NBC reporter Ken Delanian.
In order for an intelligence officer to have filed this complaint with the Inspector General, it must have been something extraordinary, something so beyond the pale that this person felt that they had to write it down and send it up the channels.
The complaint reportedly involves a troubling promise President Trump allegedly made to a foreign leader in a phone call. Inspector General Michael Atkinson is in the middle of a dispute within the Trump administration about releasing the complaint to Congress. President Trump is suing Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance to keep his tax returns from public view. Vance issued subpoenas earlier this week for 8 years of the president's personal and corporate tax returns. 5 Texas cities are under a flash flood emergency as Tropical Depression Imelda continues to soak southeast Texas. In Winnie, NBC correspondent Gabe Gutierrez says there's been an astounding amount of rain.
The story here is the severe flooding, and emergency officials in this area say it is just incredible. In Chambers County, they say they got about 1,000 calls for help in the overnight hours.
The National Weather Service has declared emergencies for Beaumont, Port Arthur, Vidor, Rose City, and Fannette. More than a foot of rain fell in the 24 hours before the emergency was posted. Meantime, in the Atlantic Ocean, Hurricane Jerry has formed. A third instance of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wearing face-darkening makeup has surfaced.
A grainy video appears to show Trudeau covered in dark makeup and sticking his tongue out. It appears his arms and legs are also covered in dark makeup. A senior member of the Liberal campaign reportedly confirmed that it was Trudeau early this morning. Mike Bauer, NBC News Radio.
2 cases of the mumps are under investigation at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. 1 case has been confirmed. Precautions have been taken to isolate the students. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Are you ready for a new experience? To see life from another point of view? New hope, new expression, new joy. This is your radio hour. Welcome to Viewpoint with Father John.
And welcome. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reid. By the way, you can follow the show on both Instagram and Facebook. Just put in Viewpoint with Father John. And if you missed any episodes in the past, you can just go to YouTube, put in Viewpoint with Father John, KCAA, and you can get all of the shows that we've done in the past. So I hope that you'll join us there. All of God's children are endowed with extraordinary purpose and ability. I'm on a quest to help as many as possible in fully realizing their divinely inspired potential. Disposing of false narrative and embracing genuineness inspires clarity of purpose. My role is to help overcome self-imposed limitations in realizing one's spiritual potential. And folks, I want to tell you about a place called Claremont Pharmacy in the beautiful city of Claremont here in California. If you are looking for a pharmacy that has that personal touch, I want to refer you to my dear friend, Dr. Nikki Ho. She does such a great job, and the whole place just has a family feel about it. And I'll tell you what, she takes good care of my diabetic supplies and anything that I need, and she keeps me informed on the latest information. Best pharmacist I've ever met. So go over to Claremont Pharmacy, tell her Father John sent you. I also want to tell you about a great place to get your hair cut, a good old-fashioned barbershop called Uppercuts Barbershop in the city of Pomona on Town Avenue and Foothill. Yes, that's where I get my hair cut. So they said they can do wonders for my hair, but for me to get good looking, I need a plastic surgeon. But I like them anyhow. So I also want to thank everybody who sent me birthday wishes on Sunday. That was very thoughtful of you, and I can't believe I got a whole year older in just one day. It's amazing how they do that, but that's what they do. So tonight we have a wonderful guest. He's co-author of the book, Can I See Hope From Here? Mr. Brad Vargason. Brad, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Father John? Thanks for having me on.
I'm well. Thank you for being here. I was intrigued by your book and also with some of the information you sent me, and it's quite a journey. So what I'd like to do, if you'd be so kind, is let's go back a little bit and set the footing for how this book came about, because it came from pain and into inspiration, if I read everything correctly.
Right. Yeah. So, so I struggled with alcoholism for just around 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't drink alcohol until later in life, around 30. That was when I started. Of course, when I was in high school, I had a little bit here and there, and then some in childhood too. But that's another story, I guess. I was a world-class athlete. I won national titles in 2 sports and broke world records in one of those sports, and was ranked number 1 in the world. And I owned a business, and it all just ended, right around the same time. And so I was having trouble sleeping, anxiety, and come to find out later, I was suffering from bipolar, but at the time I didn't realize it.
Wow!
So I turned to having a drink or two at night to take my mind off it and go to sleep, and like many people do,
Mm-hmm.
But what I didn't know is that I was an alcoholic, and by taking that first drink or two, it triggered my illness, and it set the stage for 10 or 11 years of just trauma, just a horrible experience, just from everything from just car accidents to destroying relationships to losing jobs, and eventually it ended up that I lost my home and lost my wife and cars, and just as you can imagine, it came to a bitter end.
Sure. A friend of mine used to say alcohol is the greatest spot remover in the world. First it removes the spot from the table, then it removes the cloth from the table, then the family that sat around the table, and pretty soon everything's gone. It's a great spot remover. That's
true. I've never heard that before, but that's spot on. No pun intended. But I can kind of laugh about it a little bit now. It's if I can't, then I'll just cry. Right? So I gotta find the positive in each day. So what ended up happening, how this book came about, was I struggled getting into recovery, and finally it stuck, day by day. And today I'm sober. Yesterday I was sober, and so on. Good. Then it came a point where my daughter and I were talking, and we didn't realize it, but we were both writing at the same time, about our experience, and both in the way of poems and in the way of actual, I guess almost like a autobiography, kind of journaling, but it's a little bit more than journaling, right?
Sure.
Because we're not doing it for ourselves; we were doing it for another audience. And so, as my daughter and I were speaking one day, we just, it was her idea. She said, we should probably write a book. And I said, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And so we did. And It's an upcoming book. It's not published yet. It's finished writing. It's in the editing stages right now. But basically, the book is about. It's different than other. There's a lot of addiction memoirs out there.
Yes, there are.
And I think in a lot of ways, some of them actually exacerbate the problem, because then people look at the book and read it and glorify what they see and read. And in our case, we decided to steer away from that. I had to document, of course, some of my misdeeds and missteps and so forth, as a cautionary tale, right? And not as a, hey, look at me, this is pretty cool. There was none of that.
Sure.
The whole thing is a message of caution and of hope. Because for us, we have, the primary audience is the parent in active addiction and the child who's lived with the addict, right? And so my message for the parent in active addiction is, pump the brakes. Stop now, because it ain't going to get better, and hold on to what you have now and try and build on it and make it better, because otherwise you're going to lose everything like I did. And the message for the child is, like Jaden says, and better than I do, is, you're not alone. There's other people that share your story, and you don't have to sit in silence and suffer. You can come out and talk to other people about this, and so that's our primary goal, is to make sure there's no 9, 10, 11-year-old kids sitting there, blaming themselves and thinking they're alone. So.
Sure. Well, there's a great program that's 12-step based for the children of alcoholics called Alateen. And it's really powerful, because they actually work the 12 steps themselves, because alcoholism is a family disease. Everyone is affected by it. And, it's kind of funny. As a priest, I've dealt with a lot of couples that deal with addiction. And when they walk in the office, you almost always get it wrong, because the person that looks so beat up you think is the alcoholic or addict, and it's not. It's the spouse. The alcoholic is well preserved from the booze, and the spouse is there for the whole thing, and that's why they look so ragged. And so, yeah, it's amazing what the families go through. So does your daughter share some of her experience of what she felt during these years of your addiction?
Yes, she does. The bulk of the book is in my voice, but I think the most powerful part of the book is in her voice.
Okay.
And so yes, she shares her experience and what she went through, and some of the more traumatic moments that she's had. She shares that in both, in poetry and in actually just written words. She wrote powerfully about it, and I'm proud of her for that.
Wow.
It was hard for her. I knew that she broke down in the writing of it, and I had a feeling she would. I did myself, but I knew she would, and so we had a few heart-to-hearts about it, and that was an important part of this book, because it that breaking down allowed us to build back up higher than we were before the start of the book. So.
Sure, and I'm glad to hear that the two of you are talking about it, because if you can talk about the situation, then there's room for healing. But if we can't talk about anything, then there is no room for healing. It's just one resentment after another. And so I take it from what you're sharing with me that you and your daughter have had some heart-to-heart conversations about her experience with your addiction. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. We recently, just this past week, actually, we speak, because we're right now, because of the situation that my wife and I are in. She's with my wife at the moment, so I don't get to see her every day like I would love to, and I did. But we do speak every day, and anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour each day, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So the other night we had about an hour long heart to heart, and it was good. So she said what a lot of people in her situation are thinking. Why our family? Why this happened?
Sure.
And not only am I a recovering addict or alcoholic, but I'm also a recovering atheist.
Okay. I find that hard to believe.
So I told her, I said, there's a reason for it. I'm not sure what it is yet, but it's unfolding before us, and most of your life spent with me is going to be, as an adult, not as a kid, and it can be most of your life spent in seeing me in sobriety and us building better memories than what we had. I said, so then maybe it's best that this happened the way it did, and not the other way, which is, as they say in AA, jail's institution or death.
Sure, sure, and all that's true. And it's no respecter of age or stature. I've done a lot of funerals this last year for teenagers, both from straight alcoholic poisoning, and a lot of them from methamphetamine. I mean, methamphetamine is taking out children like there's no tomorrow, and fentanyl as well.
Yes, it is.
So I've done more funerals this year alone of young people than I ever have, and I've been doing this for close to 30 years, so it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And so what drove you towards finding that you had a problem and looking towards a solution? What was your bottom, as they say?
Well, my initial bottom wasn't my bottom, as you can imagine. So I eventually, I've, disclose everything. I've been in a psych ward 7 times, and I've had 4 suicide attempts.
Okay.
And, the first time that happened, when I was in treatment for that, and then is when I found out I was bipolar, and I had alcoholism on top of that, which is just, so that's when I started to see that I had a problem, and then I could put it in context of like, okay, now I start to understand like these patterns that I've seen throughout my life, the mania, the depression, because I'm also an artist, so I would do all these things, and I just thought it was just me being creative, but no, it was me being sick.
Sure.
So then it dawned on me that, okay, now I've got, not one illness, but I've got 2 now, and I don't want to keep doing this, but there's something about the addicted mind, and this is just my observation of myself and some other close friends that I know that are in recovery or still in active addiction, both, is there's something really weird about it where it will tell me that it's okay to use today, you'll just quit tomorrow.
Right.
And for 6 years it told me that.
Sure.
So 6 of the 10 or 11 years, I didn't enjoy a drop of alcohol. I didn't want to drink. I mean, some will claim, yes, you did, because you did, but I was driven by an obsession and a compulsion that seemed as if that there was somebody else in the driver's seat.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to describe to somebody who's never suffered from addiction, but it's so true. And it's just weird that I would be driven towards something that would cause me misery over and over and over again. But that part of my brain would just say, it'll be okay. Just use today. Tomorrow, you'll be, you can quit tomorrow. And I just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. Until eventually, something just clicked, and I, at one point I got out of a psych ward, and I went to my first, another psych, like I said, I was in there 7 times, and I met a gentleman by the name of Nick who runs a ministry out of Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
And, he says, have you tried prayer? I said, no, Nick, I'm an atheist. He's like, are you sure you're an atheist? I said, well, I don't know. I really, He's like, here's this. He says, try praying. Worst case scenario, you're just saying words. Best case scenario, changes your life. And so I started praying. And I can't say definitely that the prayers changed my life, but my life started getting better. And, and here I am today. I'm better today than I was the day before I started praying. So I think that day is when I also got into recovery from atheism.
Sure. Well, we're going to have you hold on to that thought for just a moment because Frank is looking at me through the window here saying that he's going to be an atheist on us paying our bills if I don't go to my commercial break. So we'll be back in 2 and 2.
Right.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personal funeral planning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
Ladies, and guys too, you work hard, and once in a while, you have to take care of yourself. When it's time to pamper yourself, to take care of yourself, your next stop should be Next Gen Nails and Spa in Redlands in the Tri-City Center. It's very special. Relax. Enjoy this special, luxurious treatment that you deserve, and leave your stress behind with the best beauty care and a royal spa pedicure that includes a warm water soak, trim, sea salt scrub, paraffin therapy, and a luxurious hot lotion massage. You deserve it, and you deserve it today. Look good, feel good at Next Gen Nail and Spa in Redlands, because you're worth it. And for a quick session, join Next Gen on Wednesdays for their $10 off spa treatments happy hour from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. The salon is always squeaky clean and waiting. So for the best beauty care and to treat yourself, it's Next Gen Nails and Spa at 1470 Industrial Park Avenue in Redlands, or Google Next Gen Nails and Spa in Redlands.
And welcome back. You're tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or you can listen from anywhere around the world at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John. I am your host, Father John Reid. And brothers and sisters, I do want to remind you that Viewpoint with Father John is a listener-supported program. So please go to www.viewpointwithfatherjohn.com, click the support button, and give what you can. And for those of you who have been supporting this show, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You've been keeping us on the air for over a year and a half, and I thank you for that. And although I don't look a day older than as if we've been on here 50 years. And so tonight, my guest this evening is the author of the book, Can I See Hope From Here? And so, Brad, we're talking a little bit about how this clergyman told you to try prayer, if nothing else, they're just words, but you start having some type of result through this. Did I hear you correctly on that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So please continue.
It helps. It helps me a lot. Just that it's become a part of my daily routine, and so it what it does for me, and again, I'm new to prayer, so it gives me a moment at night to reflect upon my day, and in the morning, it gives me a moment to focus on what's coming up.
Sure.
And I appreciate that, and what I pray for, and I know it's personal for everybody, is just for God to give me the strength to walk down the path that He's showing me.
Sure.
And that's wraps it all up. That sums it up what I do. So,
I'm reminded of someone I knew many, many years ago, never mind how many years ago, who was a scientist and also of the atheist persuasion. But what he would do, because he also had an alcohol problem, and he wanted so badly to stay sober, he had a little chalkboard by his breakfast table. In the morning, he'd write, "Help me," and then at night he'd erase that and put, "Thank you." He says, now I don't know what happens when I do this, but when I do this, I get coincidences in my life. When I don't do them, I don't get those coincidences, and so I just continue to write, "Help me" in the morning and "Thank you" at night, and it's working. So there's a lot of ways of doing it.
If it works, it works.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that when you're talking about your experience as an atheist, and so now you found your way into recovery, and I'm glad you mentioned that you had other diagnoses as well, because that's very important. A lot of times people have other diagnoses and they try to self-medicate. Is that part of what you were doing as well?
I believe so. When I look back on it, when I got injured and I couldn't compete anymore, and then the business that I owned was a gym also, so I would train athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And when we, had to make the hard decision to close the doors or for a number of reasons, I just thought that it was the anxiety and the stress from all those things happening that I couldn't sleep. So I started to self-medicate for that. But after speaking with a psychiatrist, he said that it was probably my bipolar emerging at the same time from the stress and also from genetics.
Yeah, the manic phase, yeah.
Right. So I was being manic, and it was more pronounced than it was in my younger years. And so I began to, when I look back, yes, I was certainly self-medicating, without a doubt. And then after a while, instead of just self-medicating, I was physically addicted. So I would wake up and have to drink just to function. Not
yes.
To, and that's the real, I guess, trap, if you will, of alcohol, especially. But I guess any drug is that, it lures you in with of all these supposed good things, and then you're trapped, and it's a horror story. So.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine say that it gave him wings to fly, and then it took away the skies.
Yeah.
So that was his experience with it. And so, how long have you been alcohol-free?
How long?
Right.
Yeah, I don't get into that. Just simply, I stopped saying that.
Okay.
Because in the rooms, which I visit occasionally, they claim that it's good for the newcomer to know and hear it. But when I was a newcomer, actually, I had the opposite feeling. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling with just making it through the day, let alone the week. And then when I hear people say they have a year, 5 years, 8 years, whatever it might be, I just thought that was just so far away. I started to feel hopeless, So what I do when I go into the rooms now and they ask me how much time I have, I say today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's all I have is today. Because when the newcomer hears that, I think it's more relatable and it puts them more at ease. Like, listen, you just got to make it through today.
Sure.
And that's that. So.
Well, there's many approaches to that, I'm sure. And so, do you have a thing that you and your daughter do to stay in communications about the progress? And is she doing anything for her experience to help her recover emotionally?
She's not seeing a therapist. She was, but she's become so busy. I mean, she's 16 and she's going to graduate high school this year, so she just does really fill her plate with academics and hasn't really, and she works too, so she really hasn't made those times in her schedule to allow for more self-care. And she's 16, so she doesn't always listen to elders. So it's something I would like to see her do. I think she gets a lot of therapy from us speaking, and her, she has a couple of friends that are going through the same thing. But I don't think that's enough. So that is an ongoing conversation between her and myself, is to make that happen. So, but she's gone to some Al-Anon here and there, which she enjoys. But I think at this point she might go once a month, which I'd like to see her do more. But you can't force something on a 16-year-old. That's for sure.
No, and any help is better than no help, and that's for sure. Because statistically, because I'm very familiar with alcoholism. In fact, my brother was the one who started the entire KDAC program, Certified Drug and Alcohol Counselors. The statistics show that if you have one alcoholic parent, you have a 50% chance of marrying an alcoholic. If you have more than one alcoholic parent, it goes up to 75%. But there's that other percent that doesn't have to. And oftentimes if someone gets the help, they're able to avoid some of that, because we don't attract alike and we don't attract opposite. We attract what we think we deserve subconsciously, not consciously, subconsciously. Because consciously you say, no, I've seen that movie, I don't want to go in again. But subconsciously, because it's what we recognize. In fact, you can be in a coliseum with 50,000 people, and the person from the affected person's antenna will go up and the other person's antenna will go up, and they'll find each other in that coliseum of 50,000 people. all kinds of studies have been done showing that. So I'm glad to hear she's doing something for that. I'm not saying you're a bad guy, but if she can avoid marrying someone in addiction, I'm sure you'd be happy to hear that too. So,
I'm concerned about that too. Is that maybe she'll end up with going through 10 years of somebody like me for her husband, like her mom did.
Sure.
That of course is a concern of mine, and I just got to be there for her and support her when she needs it, and hope for the best for her, and just let her just remind her of what the signs are, and so when I met my wife, I wasn't drinking, so she was kind of blindsided by this whole thing.
Sure.
And, so you never know. It's kind of a difficult thing to predict, at least in my situation. Like, I would have never, if somebody told me when I was 21 and was able to drink and didn't, that at 30 I would have a problem, I would have laughed at them.
Yeah.
But,
well,
it is what it is.
I know, and this is a story that's been shared with me, and it's an actual case that happened. Was an old lady. This is back in the days when they used to use brandy as a painkiller, before we had some of the things we have now. And this little biddy was in her 80s, and she had some type of surgical procedure, and she'd never drank a day in her life, and the doctor prescribed a little brandy for post-operative care. And they say on the third day, and this is a true story, she stole the keys from the nurse and broke into the liquor cabinet to get brandy. And so there certainly is something genetic about the addiction, that's for sure. So it doesn't matter if it's 21, 30, or 86 years old, or 83 years old, like this whole little old biddy was, like we used to say. So, and it does catch people unaware. Nobody signs up at the high school office, and when they say, "What do you want to be?" "Oh, nuclear physicist." "Oh, I want to be an alcoholic." And they say, "Fantastic, we have just the place for you."
Right. Yeah.
Take these classes.
It's so true.
Do you have an ongoing relationship with your ex-wife where you're able to talk about some of these things?
Not at this moment. We are kind of
estranged. Yeah.
Radio's silent right now. Just she needs to heal in her own way, and I think that she should find somebody to talk to, or have some kind of program for recovery for herself as well, because I put her through the ringer. I mean, it was
sure.
Just like I describe in the book. It's I didn't go into a whole, like I said, I don't go into a whole lot of gory details of what happened, but I do scratch the surface, and underneath is a horror story. So it's she went through a lot. She put up with a lot with me, and eventually she just, she just said even sober, me being sober, she can't let go of some things that happened 10 years ago.
Sure.
So and what can I say to that? I have no answers, I barely have an answer for myself. So I don't have an answer for her. And so she just has to, undertake that healing that's her healing journey. And I can just only just stand by and, let her know each and every day. I still, every morning, text her, good morning and good night, and I hope you have a good day, so I still do that. And some days I get a response and some days I don't, but I still do it religiously just because, I still love her. So.
Sure. Well, hopefully at some point she'll be able to get some help, because otherwise that kind of anger really eats us up and keeps us from having any other type of healthy relationship, because everything gets compared to the past experience, and then we just can't recognize love when it comes our way. So, do you have a publishing date that this book might be coming out, or are you focusing on something?
Well, yeah. So right now we are we're getting ready to launch a Kickstarter fundraising campaign. Mm-hmm. We're a little short right now, and that's going to kick off probably Tuesday. And if you don't mind me saying our web address, do you mind that?
No, that's fine.
Okay, it's caniseehope.com. And if you want to know about the Kickstarter date, or if you want to know more about when the book's going to be released, just scroll to the bottom of the front page, and it's just put your first name in if you want. Just stay anonymous, and then your email, and then I'll just keep you up to date. Just in your email. Again, it's caniseehope.com, and the Kickstarter date's there. And so there's a video on there as well on the website, and it's just it's less than 3 minutes, and it's just Jaded and I talking briefly about the book. And so we do have a publishing group that we are looking forward with to do some future stuff. Right now, we're still in the talks, and I don't know if they can really do much with us for about 6 months. So we kind of want to launch it sooner. We want to do some self-publishing and then join the publisher a little later.
Okay.
So I kind of want to get it out there and just in people's hands, and then with the publisher, then we can get a wider audience. But I'm a little impatient. I feel as though that we're so close to finishing that I don't want the book to sit there on the shelf finished and wait 6 months before we have a publisher. So I just want to use the Kickstarter to get it going, and we have some generous rewards on there. We're not asking for much, and it'd be great. And a lot of the tiers offer 2 books for the rewards, because I think that one of the better ways to go about this is to the parent and the child read the book at the same time. I recommend the child being 10, 12, something like that, or older, not younger than that. Parents' discretion, whatever. It's not me, up to me. But I think that, and I think what we're considering too, is Jada and I have been discussing this, is to come out with a workbook too for kids. Kind of like a sort of like a journal with other kids' stories interspersed between the blank pages, right? Mm-hmm. So that'll be something that'll be coming down the pike as well. We have on the website, what I'd like to do is to have a forum for totally anonymous and secure, for people to come on and share their stories as a parent and child. With the parent being the one in addiction and the child going through it, and just share their stories anonymously. And so it'll be a place where people can come and read about. There's Alateen and there's Al-Anon, sure, but there's some people that don't want to participate in the 12-step, and I totally respect that. And I think we can we can give that space for people who want to add something to their recovery toolkit.
Well, sure, there's many approaches to recovery. Speaking of approaches, Frank is looking at me through the glass saying I better approach this commercial right now. And so my guest this evening is an author, and he's going to be back with our conversation in just 2 and 2.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
There's something popping up in Redlands, and the word is Moo La La. Moo La La Boutique. Get ready. It's a twice-yearly pop-up shop that helps over 650 local families sell their children's outgrown items, all on consignment. Prices range from 50 to 90% off retail costs. Clothing, shoes, baby equipment such as strollers, swings, toys, books, maternity wear, furniture, basically anything pertaining to kids, infants, and children. Moo La La Boutique in the Tri-City Center. Most items are gently used, but go through a quality check. Moo La La is open with free admission, starting Thursday, September 19th, all the way through Saturday, September 21st. Saturday will be a discount day where most remaining items at Moolah La will be an additional 50% off the ticketed price. www.moolalaboutique.com. The Moolah La Boutique is located in the southwest quadrant of the Tri-City Center where the 10 and the 210 meet in Redlands. And you'll say, Moolah La.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or you can listen from anywhere in the world at www.kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John. I am your host, Father John Reid. By the way, I want to thank those of you who have been sending me letters from all around the world. We don't just say that here. I've been getting letters from Brazil, the Philippines, Panama, and so I appreciate everyone tuning in every week and sharing your thoughts with us. And I got some very nice notes this last week, and I thank you for that. And I apologize I wasn't here last week, so we replayed an old program, but I just was not feeling quite myself, and I didn't want to come here, and whoever had the microphone after me, I didn't want them to be sick. So I did the heroic thing. Just ask me, because I'll tell you how humble I am. And I stayed home, and Frank was a real champion. So thank Frank for filling in and putting a rerun for me. I appreciate that. You're a good guy. I don't care what everyone at the station says. And my guest this evening is co-author of the book, Can I See Hope From Here, Brad Vargason. And welcome back, Brad. And what in our last segment, what is the message you'd like to give to our listeners of the hope that you're looking at?
So our message is we have three audiences, right? Okay. So we have the primary audience is the child that is or has lived in a household with a parent with active addiction. Mm-hmm. That's our primary audience. That's the primary person whose life we would like to change. Okay. We don't want to see, like I said, we don't want to see another 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old little girl sitting alone, thinking it's their fault that their parents doing it, and that they're the only ones going through this. We don't want that.
Right.
The second group is the family and friends of the person who's in active addiction, mm-hmm. and they're suffering too. I mean, if not more than the addict themselves, they're suffering. And,
yes.
To give them hope that the person who's suffering an active addiction can change. They can beat this, but don't hinge your hope on that, mm-hmm. because the odds are actually against that. Be there for them, support them, but don't get lost in the hope of them getting better. But when they do, or if they do, then rejoice, right?
Yeah.
And then our final audience is the parent that's in active addiction, right? So, mm-hmm. and just say, listen, stuff that I went through isn't the worst out there. It's not the best case scenario either. I'm a bottom case, right? I'm a low bottom case, as they say.
Okay.
But you don't have to be there. You don't have to go through what I did. You don't have to lose this, lose that, lose your self-worth or your self-esteem. You can stop now before it gets too late. You don't have to put your kid through a decade of mm-hmm. trauma like I did. And, you can stop today.
But if
so that's our message.
But if someone is truly addicted, what are the chances of them actually hearing that message? Because you mentioned in your own story that you kept telling yourself the lie that, well, I can quit tomorrow, which right. A lot of people with addiction do that. So I don't think there can really be a guarantee. I mean, I appreciate the effort, and I get the effort.
Right.
But I've known a lot of people in the field of alcoholism and drug addiction that have shared that some of their own counselors had this thing, and they didn't think that they can be an alcoholic or addict because they knew what to look for. And that became part of their denial. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that that's also possible?
Right. Well, I don't think that our book is like something magical or is going to do something different than what anybody else is.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, for instance, when I was in treatment,
right.
I remember a gentleman there. I won't say his name.
Good.
But smart guy. Good. You there?
Yes.
Okay, I heard a click. Smart guy, good heart. He was there, and at the time he was there, I think, for maybe 2 weeks, around that time. And he was ready to go. He's like, I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm not hearing anything, And we have meetings all day long, right?
Okay.
We have AA, we have NA, we have meetings that have nothing to do with that, just kind of like psychosocial kind of meetings. And he wasn't hearing a message that resonated with him.
Okay.
Then this one gentleman came in from outside. They call it H&I, right? Hospitals and institutions.
Right.
And he came in and spoke a message that struck this guy so much that he ended up staying for another 30 days. He didn't leave.
Good.
And to this day, he's still sober.
Good.
And he attributed it to the story that man sat there and told him. And frankly, I don't see where that guy's story was any different than the gentleman the night before, but somehow, some way, it resonated with him. So the only thing, like Jaden and I have said, is that if we help just one child and one parent make it through and get a little bit of healing, then the book did its job. We're not looking to, do anything earth-shattering. We're just looking for one life to change. That's it.
Sure. No, I get that. I just was curious about that because the way that I heard it, and that's why I wanted to qualify a little bit, was like, this is going to be sort of like a magic pill of some sort, and I just want to make sure that wasn't really what was being said, and so I want to clarify that for the listeners as well, just in case that's what they thought they were hearing as well. So you've been doing this for a little while. It's what's the process been like for you with the writing for both you and your daughter?
I'm sorry?
What's the process been like for both you and your daughter in writing this?
Oh, it's been really good. We feel as though it's definitely has promoted some healing between us and brought us closer together. There's some things I think if I didn't have addiction as a part of my life, I don't know if I would know my daughter as well as I know her now.
Okay, I get that.
So there may be some positives that came out of it that had to kind of go through the fire to get it. But it's really good. I mean, she talks, like I said, we talk every day. We text all the time. We share things, and it's really good. And the book has, I think his, I don't know, maybe up to my, I guess my respect level with her, because she can see that in my words, that when I write about her, of what I'm truly thinking and feeling. So
good. Well, I hope the two of you have great healing in your relationship. That can be difficult, and she's in her teenage years now?
She's what?
She's in her teenage years now, if I heard you correctly?
Yeah, she's 16.
16?
Yeah.
That's a tough age.
She's a senior in high school, and she's looking at some schools, and it's everybody says it should be a tough age, and she's actually, at least with me, she's not that tough. She's actually surprisingly pleasant to be around and speak to, which most 16-year-olds, from what I hear, aren't. I know I wasn't.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, each one's individual. That's for certain. And
sure.
Well, she certainly must be a good student if at 16 she's in her senior year. My goodness, she's going to be graduating early.
Yeah, she is. She's she's a straight A student. She's an artist. And obviously she writes a little bit. So she's looking at colleges right now and doing the normal thing.
So you two both share also the talent for doing art.
Yeah, it runs in the family. My brother is a really good artist. He does illustrations for books, and he does. He's done some kids' books. He's done some. If you're familiar with role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and Magic: The Gathering and all that, he's done some work for products like that.
Wow!
And he's also a tattoo artist. So we just grew up doing art, and it's kind of just been something that runs through the family, I guess.
So he really knows how to get on your skin, huh? As a tattoo artist.
Right.
Yeah, well, I have a brother who's an artist of sorts. He draws flies, but that's a whole different thing. Fortunately, he's not listening tonight. Otherwise, I'm sure I'd get a call about that one. So it's, but he's clear in another state, so that helps me greatly. Well, good. Well, I wish you and your daughter well, and I hope she finds a good school that she really enjoys. Is she thinking about studying art, or do you know what area she's thinking about studying?
Yeah, she actually just recently, for years, she wanted to be a forensic anthropologist, and because she grew up around the lab with me, because my background's actually in molecular biology. She said she wanted to do that for the longest time, but then she just recently decided, Dad, I really just want to, do what my heart wants me to do, and she's like, I feel like that's art, and that's just been the last few months. So we'll see what she does. She's young and. Things change quickly, so.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Well, I started out a music major and wound up going into the priesthood, so so things do change.
Right, yeah.
That's because they said as a singer I didn't have a prayer. So, you just got to do what you got to do. And well, very good. Well, I wish you and your daughter the best. I thank you for coming on the show this evening.
Appreciate you for having me on.
No, and I hope your book is quite successful, and I hope you'll stay in touch and let us know when it comes out, and we'll probably have you back when it comes out again.
Okay. Yeah, like I was saying, we hope to have it published before Christmas. We just need to button up the editing and the formatting, and do some marketing. And like I said, we're going to kick off a Kickstarter on Tuesday, and anybody who wants to just, look at the video and consider the project, it's just go to caniseehope.com, and it's at the bottom, and just we'll let you know.
Great, thank you. Well, I wish you the very best, and I have some things I got to cover with my listeners, and we'll talk to you again another time.
Thanks a lot, Father John.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, I thank you for tuning in tonight. A few things I want to talk about with you this evening. As a lot of you know, last Tuesday was the National Suicide Prevention Day. And this is something that has affected a lot of families. And there's a program I want to tell you about that's called Compassionate Friends. Now, they're not paying for an endorsement. They don't even know I'm going to talk about them tonight. But it's very important, even considering what we just talked about with our guest that was just on about addiction in families, that there's a lot of suicidal ideation in these families as well. And not always from the alcoholics. Sometimes it's from the people who are part of the family, particularly children, who think that somehow they're at fault for the drinking and using of their parents. The message they sometimes get, which is a false message, it's an erroneous message, is if I was a better child, then this would not be happening. And it's just not the truth of the situation. You heard us speaking in the program of a organization called Alateen, and I can remember one time someone shared some literature with me, and they have these do's and don'ts. And one of the do's and don'ts that I really liked, and I'm not going to quote all of them because I don't have it memorized, but this one, when they read it to me, it just stuck out. They said, don't take it personal when the alcoholic blames you for their drinking. They will use any excuse. And you can use alcoholic, addict interchangeably in that statement. And on the other side of it, on the do's, it says, read something about recovery every day. Do something about your own attitude every day. I think that's powerful. And they had another thing called Just for Today. And one of the things that said in that one was, just for today, I will keep myself neat and clean. I'll be grateful for what I have instead of concentrating on what I don't have. And that kind of wisdom, I think, is incredible. And it's coming from teenagers, from adolescents. These kids are smart, and I think we need to listen to them. And sometimes when we don't listen, really bad things happen. Sometimes when we listen, bad things happen too. So the important thing is, if you are thinking about suicide, one, you're not bad. I want to make that real clear. This isn't a statement of judgment. It's a statement of truly caring from one person to another. I plead with you to get help Look, you may not realize this, but we need you. And the world's not the same without you. And so if you're thinking of harming yourself, please call for help. There's the National Hotline for Suicide Prevention. There's 911. There's local places you can check into and find out about it. Just call one of your local hospitals. They'll hook you up. You can call anonymously, and they'll hook you up with a crisis line. But don't go through it alone. And I think if you're feeling that way, you might already be feeling alone. And that's why I want to put out tonight, you're not as alone as you think. There are those of us who really care, who our lives would not be as good with you not in it. So please, before you do something to harm yourself, reach out. You know, I've had friends that have left that way, and I've bawled myself to sleep on each one of them. Then I became angry because I thought if only they would have called and give me one chance to talk them out of it. Wouldn't know if I could or couldn't, but I would like to have that chance. And then those of us who've had friends that do that, we go through our guilt. I had a friend that had committed suicide, and for weeks before that, I kept thinking I should stop by and see him. You know, I was driving by his business, but I was busy, and sincerely busy. And when he committed suicide, I felt tremendous guilt that I didn't stop in and put my arm around him one more time, because I thought maybe that would have stopped it. Now, of course, these are feelings, they're not facts. And I remember the trauma that it put me through. And so for my brothers and sisters out there who have gone through someone you love committing suicide, I want you to get help as well. Because the statistics show that people who are in close relationships with somebody who has committed suicide stand a chance of attempting suicide themselves. And it's not a matter of being smart or being dumb. It's a matter of being wounded. And so let's get better together. Let's all reach out for help together. Let's not just recognize this one day. Let's recognize it in each other's lives and help one another, because none of us are supposed to do this alone. And so please reach out to Compassionate Friends. You can Google it and find a local group in your area. You'll find other people who are surviving tragic deaths, and you don't have to walk through this alone. Well, again, you've tuned in another week to Viewpoint with Father John. I'm so grateful to you for that. You know, each week that you tune in, we really are building a family. And if you missed part of tonight, go to YouTube and put in Viewpoint with Father John, KCAA, and it will show you all the shows we've done. But most of all, continue to send me your letters, your notes on Facebook, on Instagram, and on the emails, because, yes, you can email me through either of those or through the website at viewpointwithfatherjohn.com. But most of all, when I say each week that if no one has told you that they love you, let me be the first, that's not a tagline. I mean that. A lot of you have contacted me, and I feel so honored that you allow me to be a part of your life. And we really are a neat family, and with many different personalities. And so, until next week, be good to yourself, and know that God loves you, and I love you too.
KCAA Loma Linda. Listen on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and